Welcome back to TLDR's daily briefing for Thursday the 24th of July 2025. In today's episode, we cover the Thailand-Cambodia border clashes, fresh warnings of starvation in Gaza, and Jeremy Corbyn's new party. But first, Zelenskyy receives massive backlash after passing a bill aimed at curbing the powers of Ukraine's anti-corruption bodies. On Tuesday night, Ukraine's parliament voted to place two previously independent bodies, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, under effective government control. Under the new law, the Prosecutor General now has the authority to issue orders to these agencies and reassign cases to government-aligned prosecutors. In practice, this removes critical safeguards designed to prevent political interference. Critics warn that it effectively allows the office of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to halt investigations with a simple phone call. In a video address, Zelenskyy defended the move by claiming the agencies were vulnerable to Russian influence and worked ineffectively as institutions. He argued that cases had been lying dormant, with no rational explanation for why expensive criminal proceedings had remained unresolved for years. More specifically, he accused the two organizations of failing to pursue cases against Ukrainian officials living abroad and suggested they were guilty of leaking information helpful to Moscow. However, the new law has sparked widespread backlash from civil society groups and Western allies. Critics argue that it reverses more than a decade of progress on anti-corruption and democratic reforms, stripping independent agencies of their autonomy and exposing them to political manipulation. The law's rapid passage has also raised eyebrows, as amendments were introduced and approved by Parliament on the very morning Zelenskyy signed the bill into law, which was then published and came into effect just minutes later. Despite Zelenskyy's claim that the law counters Russian influence, critics point out that it includes no provisions targeting Russian agents inside or outside these agencies. Instead, they see the move as part of a broader pattern within Zelenskyy's administration, where dissent is increasingly framed as disloyalty. "You're either with Zelenskyy or you're a Russian agent" has become a common refrain, according to his critics. Many observers believe this is part of a wider power grab and crackdown on dissent. Just weeks before the law passed, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau launched an investigation into Zelenskyy's close friend, then Deputy Prime Minister Alexei Chernyshov, naming him a suspect in a land grab case. Last week, Transparency International Ukraine expressed alarm over the arrest of Vitaly Shabunin, a prominent anti-corruption campaigner and outspoken critic of Zelenskyy. He was detained on charges of military service evasion and fraud. Then, earlier this week, dozens of National Anti-Corruption Bureau officers were subjected to unprecedented home raids, on grounds ranging from outdated car accidents to alleged drug offences, raising further concerns of politically motivated retaliation. Since the bill's passage, it's been heavily criticised by Brussels, and thousands of Ukrainian protesters have taken to the streets of Kyiv, with demonstrations spreading to other major cities including Lviv, Dnipro and Odessa. To quell dissent, Zelenskyy announced today that he had approved a separate bill, the contents of which are unknown, which is reportedly aimed to ensure the rule of law and independence of the anti-corruption agencies. Meanwhile, earlier in the day, a cross-party group of 48 lawmakers submitted a bill to Parliament aimed at restoring the independence of the agencies. You're listening to TLDR's Daily Briefing. If you want more explainers on what's happening in the world, then you should check out TLDR's other channels. Today, we released videos on why support for Vučić is collapsing and why Trump's approval ratings are crashing. You can find those videos linked in the description or show notes for this episode, or by searching for TLDR on YouTube or Nebula. Armed clashes have erupted along Thailand and Cambodia's disputed border, after weeks of escalating tensions. Thailand's health minister says that at least 12 people, 11 of whom are civilians, were killed by Cambodian artillery shelling. Meanwhile, a Thai F-16 fighter jet was deployed and struck military targets inside Cambodia, according to Thai authorities. Both governments accused the other of opening the hostilities. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet accused Thailand of unprovoked, premeditated and deliberate attacks on Cambodian positions along the border, and urged the United Nations Security Council to convene an urgent meeting. The more than 100-year-old dispute centres on several pockets of land, including some around ancient temples. A 3-year period between 2008 and 2011 saw a series of clashes between the two countries, but tensions were reignited earlier this year after a skirmish left one Cambodian soldier dead and plunged bilateral relations to their lowest point in more than a decade. We have a full video on the dispute and clashes coming out on the TLDR Global channel on Friday morning. Major global media companies, including the BBC, Associated Press, Reuters, and Agence France-Presse, have come together to warn of the desperate plight faced by local journalists in the Gaza Strip. The joint statement says that for many months, independent journalists have been the world's eyes and ears on the ground in Gaza, adding that journalists endure many deprivations and hardships in war zones. We are deeply alarmed that the threat of starvation is now one of them. The statement goes on to call on Israel to allow outside journalists into Gaza and ensure that adequate food supplies reach the people of Gaza. The statement comes a day after more than 100 charities and human rights groups warned that Israeli restrictions on aid entering Gaza was leaving people to waste away before their eyes. Israel rejected the statement and condemned it as serving the propaganda of Hamas. Yesterday, the World Health Organization's chief similarly condemned the situation, saying, "I don't know what you would call it other than mass starvation, and it's man-made, and that's very clear. This is because of the blockade." And finally, in UK news, former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn and former Labour MP Zara Sultana have confirmed the launch of a new political party, aiming to take on the incumbent Labour Party from the left. The announcement follows weeks of discussions after Sultana, apparently preemptively, announced she was quitting Labour to co-lead the founding of a new movement with Corbyn. Today, in the first joint statement by the two politicians, they said, "It's time for a new kind of political party, one that belongs to you," adding that the system is rigged, with giant corporations making a fortune from rising bills, 4.5 million children living in poverty in the sixth richest country in the world, and this government says there is no money for the poor but billions for war. The new party's website, seemingly provisionally called Your Party, says, "Soon we'll host an inaugural founding conference so you can help shape how your party works, what it stands for, and how we organise to win." Polling suggests that a Corbyn-led party could capture some 10% of the vote, hurting both the Labour Party and the Green Party. That's all for today. We'll be back with you tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen. In the meantime, you can check out the latest episode of our podcast, The World Leader Leaderboard, where we discuss which heads of government are doing well and who's doing badly every week. You'll find the link in the podcast description. This was a TLDR news production, hosted by Georgina Findlay, written by Nadja Lovadinov and Rory Taylor, and produced by Scarlett Watchorn. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again tomorrow.